This is Audible.
Brought to you by LadyBird.
Clark, the Royal Nephew and the Ducky. Written and read by me, Clark Westwood. Based on sitcom by Clark Westwood. Based on the artwork by Gus Helms. A long, long time ago, the Royal Nephew was a slave. But then came unexpected increases. The castles were pretty unique. All the villagers in this village are going to look around. So it said, words of meaning. The Royal Nephew said, "All hail the Royal Nephew." Well, yeah, that was me. But at the first time of discomfort, there's always one thing. Without no further, Clark was being a slave, locked into the cage of the castle. When the Royal Nephew looked out of the window, there was a ducky. So he grabbed it on, and then what he did? Swallowed it. Yeah. Crowd was waiting for the Royal Nephew. The crowd cheered as the Royal Nephew came by. Dangers creep in as the castle building begin to destroy and administrate. Clark was confused that the castle was falling apart. The cage braked open. "I'm free!" Clark shouted with excitement. One day, Clark and Daddy was looking at the magazine, and they said the news. Castle building collapses without anyone noticing. And who is going to ever save it? Well, here's how. Something you may think of was absolutely rubbish, said the news agent. There is panic around the globe as countries and citizens try to envelope anything but until nothing more or anything more like it. The happening. Theo and Neo. The Royal Nephew put on the crown and then started to be brave at the building. But the Royal Nephew refused to get in the old building, so they released a new building. The constructors stopped constructing when it's finished. The Royal Nephew begins to come in at this point. Clark said to the Royal Nephew, what is this?" he said. So the Royal Nephew said, "This is my new castle. It's been demolished a long time ago, but then reconstructed and represented as a castle, known as a fortress." But then an unspeakable shriek of scream. "Birds, my lord! Birds!" When the Royal Nephew got in with his Ducky, he noticed that his Ducky was dirty. He gave it to Troy instead. Washed it all up, and then Troy plays with it. "I love my Ducky," he was singing. But then birds came up in the room. The royal nephew and Clark were screaming out with fear. But do not fear the Cyclops as you can. Or should we say... So, the royal nephew said, "There's been a catastrophe." "Never fear," he said. "Simmer down, simmer down, simmer down." Crowd was lighting in line again, meaning that the crown was ready to put on for notice. There we are. The ducky flew away out of the window into the countryside and then into the station. Oh my God, what was that?" he said. "Well, that must have been..." "1 minute. Oh yeah. You lazy tiger head," said the radio station. "Radio bird." "Stop it," said the radio agent. Clark noticed that the duck fly away into the countryside or in the radio station. Controlling with fear, Clark noticed something that already catched him up on his mind. "A notification has sent," he said. But then here comes Cassandra. Cassandra said, "Hey. Oh, hey. I think you may need to, yeah, probably. You might have to think all about Ray. As long as you think you can do it or not. Well, it's okay to be seen, but it's at least all right or not. Here, check this out. List of horrors are on our mind, but unfortunately, the royal nephew knows, how much my squeaky ducky had been fly away out of the window to the countryside or the radio agent. Clark refuses to think, but Troy thinks. Troy began to cry as the ducky flew out of the window. Just then, suddenly, a helicopter outside the window tried to get the squeaky toy, but then it picked up a bone instead of a ducky. "Oh God," they said. "It's not a ducky, that's a bone? A remains of the body?" "What rubbish," said. "How are we ever gonna get the ducky back?" Clark said with a frown outside up. Goats were bleating to find the rubber ducky, but then it chewed its bit instead. Hustles and the bustles came to a screech. The helicopter screeched to a halt. But then they found the ducky lying on the dead grass. So they picked it up and sent it to the castle window. By using a ladder, they were doing something extra for once. But then an unexpected. I think we may need a ladder to climb up the castle. Is that right? "Yeah, perhaps so," they said. "Okay, we might need to think about it." They climbed up the left window and there's spiders, so they checked on the front window. Nothing. Checked on the right window. They were also nothing. Checked on the spine of the window. Check out the spine of the castle window. Opened the castle by using the hammer to break windows out of the castle. They creep in as They placed the rubber ducky onto the shelf instead. Yeah. Why do we need to put this on the shelf? It's like nothing, dude. Like we always used the handle to rely on anything. Or else this will not be my preservative. Yeah. Skinny Legs might be so proud. Crowd was cheering out for the royal nephew and the rubber ducky. Clark had seen one of the histories before. Well, this is not my expedition. Felicitations and options might be the very best of. Sorry. Whatever, simmer down. Crowd cheered and whistled as the royal nephew, Clark, and the rubber ducky begin to pass. Clark gave a kiss on the ducky and the royal nephew and said, "Thank you for saving the rubber ducky." And that was Clark, the royal nephew and the ducky. Written by Clark Westwood, based on sitcom by Clark Westwood, and read by Clark Westwood, and based on our work by Gus Helms. 2026. Copyright. A Gus Helms Production Limited. LadyBird Books Limited is part of the Penguin and Puffin Books Limited. This book will be selected at many stores, so look out for more books when you go shopping. That's it for today. Bye for now. Bye.